Questions for Emma Hayes here. I see what you're saying. Ahead of the somewhat historic match here in Santa Barbara, first match for the women's national team back here in 34 years. We're going to start with Sandra on the end.
Hi, Emma. Thanks for the time today. Game one, first game of the year, done and dusted. Got one more to close it out here. What are some of the things that you're looking for this squad to improve on from that first match to this match? It looked like you had mentioned maybe a warning to us that things could look a bit clunky, I think was the phrasing, yeah. But they obviously seem to pick it up in the second half. What do you want for them in match two?
Well, first of all, there'll be changes to the team, as I mentioned at the beginning. So I'm putting together a whole new lineup, which itself will bring another set of challenges, whether that be first caps, whether that will be inexperience collectively playing together. One thing I have almost agreed to do, knowing where the players are at this stage of the season with their NWSL club, is to not start a player for 2 games in a row. So there will be a complete lineup change. So that will bring a whole set of challenges. But we've earmarked some tactical things regardless of the game. So it will be about implementing those things that they've been working on all week.
Questions for Emma? Go ahead in the back. Wait for the mic.
Hi, I'm Zach Plumans for KCSB.
Zach, quick one. My son, Harry, keeps talking to me about texture powder for his hair. You use some, right?
A little bit.
Where'd you get it from?
I got it for Christmas from my mom, I'm not going to lie to you.
That's so... Okay. So that's what he's looking for, to make his hair do that.
I'll have to put you on the exact brand.
Okay, thank you.
So you've mentioned this group is really inexperienced at the international level specifically. What are important lessons that you want your players to learn from what you could call easier games like this, maybe?
Well, I think the first is, I always talk a lot in-house about getting the framework right. And I always talk about the house. And if you get your structural engineering part right, or your principles right, then you're not going to get any subsidence, or you're not going to get any flooding. And from there, you can decorate the house, which is, in our world, to be a bit more fluid. But I think you saw in the first half of the second half, we created more chances last game in the first half than we did the second, but they didn't know exactly when to decorate the house, even though its structure was built. And that's what I saw from first half to second half. So I want to be able to see that a little sooner if we can. But I'm sure you can appreciate whether you're making your debut or you're getting your second, your third, in some cases less than 10 caps. There's still, a little bit of nervousness. They want to get those things right. They want to prove so much they can get those things right. So maybe it will take time for the flow of the game to come to us. I don't know, but walking around on that field, one thing I do know is that is an intimate place to play. And with a sell-out situation, I hope it doesn't take 45 minutes to get going with the fluidity that we want.
Right up front here.
Well, Coach, everyone is excited to have the team here. I mean, this will be the biggest crowd in Santa Barbara for a sporting event in 2026. Just your thoughts on coming to Santa Barbara, maybe your first time here?
Actually, it's my second time here. I said to Hyfe, he lived here for 8-9 years. What a beautiful place to live. I think not just the architecture and the historical references that you see across the city. Of course, the backdrops, not the cranes. You call them cranes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The cranes in the back. I'm talking about the mountains in the background and that beautiful colouring that during sunset is. I've got to remember to keep my eyes on the game tomorrow. and not the view in the background, because this is one spectacular place.
We do have some students here, Emma, so I'd like to encourage them to ask questions if they can, if they want. Go ahead.
Hi, Emma. I'm Annabelle Prasad with UCSB TV. I was wondering, playing at Harder Stadium obviously has a lot of history in women's soccer and a strong soccer culture. How have you seen that atmosphere impact your team's energy and focus heading into tomorrow's night?
You talking about the history here?
That
Yeah.
and just having good crowds, yeah.
Oh, one of my prerequisites in the build-up to qualifying for the World Cup is, can we pick stadiums that are going to be full? And can we go to places that maybe we haven't been to as much? And so when this became an option, I got a phone call to say, look, there's potentially an option to play. I think I said yes before they'd already finished asking, because it's not about the size of the crowd, it's about the quality of the crowd. And when something feels full and you have to play with something at stake, and you do when you're performing for people, that's what shapes you. And I think for our team, as we prepare to qualify for the World Cup, creating these exposures is so important for us, because for some of these players, some get a lot of that preparation, some don't. So it's absolutely vital that we come somewhere where there's a great history. I've heard some stories about the history at this stadium. I've heard some history about the fans, especially carrying goals down to the beach. There's an urban folklore story that apparently after the men's team, right, won the national championship, fans picked the goal up and carried it all the way down to the beach. Did they throw it in the Pacific too?
They did.
I hope them fans are there tomorrow, but please don't throw a goal on the field, please. But if they are, bring that energy.
Go ahead.
Hi, Bella Giordano, KCSB Sports. Emma, you have a healthy mix of veterans and first-time caps in this January camp. What has impressed you the most with the team chemistry you're seeing?
I say it every time, always the coachability piece. I have to say to my staff, we have to keep up with the group's learning. We have to be so intentional about what we're teaching, because they're sponges. They absorb so quickly. And I think if you watch last game through the lens of a coach, and you watch a whole new set of players pick up positional play in a slightly new structure and implement it like that to score 5 goals in 12 or so minutes, it's so easy to say, oh, the opponents should be this, they should be that. No, that's taking huge credit away from the players, because we created goals the other day that is by design to pull teams apart. And I think the team, no matter who they are, adapt really well to that. And I'm super proud of them for that.
Hi, Emma. I'm Hero with KCSB Sports. The team has gone several matches unbeaten and has high scaling offensive outputs recently. How much of your planning emphasizes managing that momentum versus experimenting with new roles and combinations?
I think being clear after this camp, as we get into She Believes, it's locking in now to qualification, and this window is about identifying which players we think will be key to that group or that core group. Then it's which players are going to be instrumental to that pool, and then which group are for 2028 and which ones are for 2031. So I think it's doing 2 or 3 things all at once, but that's what development is. But I have a really good idea of the pool. I know, which group of players we're going to be building around in the build-up to World Cup qualification.
Awesome. Good job, UCSB students. Way better than I was when I was assistant sports editor at the Daily Nexus. So good job. We're going online to Jonathan Tannewald. Go ahead, JT.
Hey.
The weather there is much better than
It's terrible.
You don't want to. You don't want to see it, JT.
I'm sure I don't.
Yeah.
Look, the rest of the world goes on, as we know, at the same time that there is soccer for you all to handle. And there's been a lot lately around the U.S. and Minnesota and many other places, not just. And I wonder how your players are taking in all of that. Are they talking about it amongst themselves? I know they're veterans, but also some of them are younger, maybe don't have quite as much experience living through some of these things. How have you observed them? How do you observe them as the leader of the program, and how are you processing them?
I mean, first of all, my condolences are to all the family members for those victims, because it doesn't matter. I can sit here and talk about the loss of tragic life everywhere. It's not something first of all, as a mother, I want to see. It's upsetting on so many levels to see that happen, and I think they're in everybody's minds. But I haven't spoken about it with the squad, genuinely. I think the way we structure our camps, there's not a lot of sit-down time, though I have got a Lego time today with them. Another one, and paint by numbers. I like that one too. But we haven't spoken about it. And maybe that's because they're all reasonably new to camp. Whether they're unfamiliar with it or not, whether they're comfortable talking about it or not, I don't know. But it hasn't been a topic of conversation this week in camp, and perhaps they're having it amongst themselves, but they're definitely not having it in front of me. But I know that each and every one of them would feel equally empathetic and thoughtful about it, and it's not something that any of us enjoy seeing.
Thanks, JT. We'll go to Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
Sean Suckle, Island Magazine. I heard all good about you, of your coaching on Long Island, including Albertson, my hometown of Syosset, where two NWSL owners come from, but I've not been able to get confirmation from anywhere. Can you please help me with this? What
was the question, Sean?
I've been hearing rumors about having coached on Long Island at the youth level. At various places. Syosset, my hometown, where two NWSL owners hail from, Albertson.
No, we got it now, Sean. We got it now. You're just your youth coaching on Long Island. Can you talk a little bit about it? Yeah,
I did. I coached two youth teams at Syosset. I coached honestly, I coached so many clubs I couldn't remember them, from Glen Cove to what was the other? Port Washington was probably a club I coached a lot at. Was there another one? Did you say Albertson?
I heard Albertson, yes.
Yeah, Albertson too. Honestly, I did the stretch of the LIE for 7 years. I coached, I think, at literally every soccer facility up and down the island. I know I was more North Shore than South Shore, other than really maybe some of the main tournaments and some camps I used to do out at Islip with the Lady Riders. And then really the centre of the island, anything around Hofstra. I'd be coaching camps there too. But yeah, that's my manner.
For those that don't know, Emma came over when she was 21, 22?
Yeah, I'm 28 now.
Yeah. And she started her coaching career on Long Island. And here she is now. Unless there's any other in the room, we'll go to Jim Alexander. Go ahead. Let's go here first, then we'll go to Jim.
Hi. I know there isn't a lot of extravagant game planning at this stage, but what are your impressions of the Chile side and maybe some of their personnel, or what you're expecting from them tomorrow?
One thing's for certain, I think organisationally, I think they'll be different than Paraguay. You never know how a team's going to set up, but based on what we've seen, really, really narrow team. So how we pull them out of spaces is going to take a lot of good opposite movements from players. But as a result of that compact shape they have, they leave three players high and they transition really quickly through their wide players. I think that they're a good threat going forward, particularly in the transition areas. So I think they'll give us a high-level attacking threat, but are happy to sit without the ball and create their chances. I think really narrow defending inside the box. It'll make it really, really difficult for us to hit front post spaces. So we're going to have to work the box, but we've been training that. And we think that this is I've said this many times to my technical team. You don't get the opportunity to play teams like this in preparation for World Cup qualification. This is a great opportunity for us, and one that, yes, we are the higher level opponent. Yes, we should win this game, but as many people will tell you, it's never that straightforward. And I'd rather learn now what the challenges are when you're playing against different organisations. So, yeah. Be a different test to Paraguay, absolutely.
I have a follow-up on the question earlier about some of the younger players. I know a bulk of this roster is actually less capped, less experienced. You mentioned ahead of the game against Paraguay that there's like a handful plus that you're looking at for She Believes Cup, but there's also a lot of young players on here that you're looking for either 27, 28, or 31 and beyond. Amongst that group of players, what have the conversations been like as far as like potential for participating in like youth World Cups? Because I know there's a few of those players who are eligible. I know you've mentioned Bug before in their past. Is there anyone else you're having those conversations with or encouraging?
It's a great question. And it's one that I'm really passionate about. When I see countries like Spain, Germany, England, all of their top youth national team players being able to play in major international tournaments again and again and again, it's not only a indicator of future success and preparation, but it's a great opportunity for those individual players not just to build their reputations and their brands for themselves or as US, but also for their clubs. But I totally recognise that in the US, in other franchise sports, they're not accustomed to international windows, which the game has become accustomed to. Then you add to that non-FIFA windows, this January camp being one of them, the under-20s being one. So it's far from ideal if you are an owner of a team that has a player that's an important player in your team playing for you and competing for your club. But you have to weigh up the long-term benefits, and I think it's absolutely essential that the best available players are available to play in youth national team tournaments for a myriad of reasons that I've just mentioned. Whether you are Lily Johannes, Claire Hutton, Jordan Bug, to name three of them, I don't think Giselle makes it. So if those players are not going to the World Cup, it has nothing. We want them to. We absolutely want them to go to the World Cup, and we think it's important we work with our NWSL clubs and the league as a whole to express the importance of that, which is why even when it comes to games like this is why I work really hard for the NWSL so that I can put the players back into their club in a healthy position. Or I'll do the same in October, which I know might be a big window. So I think it's about give and take. And I think it is important that on behalf of the players that we do push for those things, because I think Jordan Bug, for example, Lily Johannes, Claire Hutton, are going to be significantly better off for both club and country if they are able to do what the likes of Germany do, Spain do, England do, and that their best young players, much like Bonmati, much like Linda Caicedo, when I look at their journey, play youth national team up to seniors, 23s, back to youth national team. The journey in that direction should be normal for our players in this country, and I sincerely hope that our NWSL clubs do support the development of them players to go and play in a World Cup.
I got to first apologize to Jim Alexander because we only have time for one, and Julie Foudy's going to get that because priority goes to people in the room. plus Julie played in the last game here that the U.S. Women's National Team played at Harder Stadium. Julie Foudy, finish it up.
You're going to regret giving me the mic.
Yeah,
Hi, Hitz.
Julie, I've been regretting giving you the mic for like 30 years now.
So I know that Erin Heifetz is not a person that wants to talk about himself, but this man has more caps than any U.S. player has ever had with the U.S. Women's National Team. John wrote this fantastic article in The Independent about the history with both Santa Barbara and the U.S. Women's National Team. You were here when we were here in '91. You helped bring us here. You passed out flyers. It was $6 for an adult to come to that game in 1991, right? But for you, and I don't know how many caps, because Erin Heifetz won't tell us, who from my era of being our press officer to now being the institutional memory and mind behind this team and carrying that legacy, which Emma values so much, what has it meant to you to watch generation after generation work beside Emma now? And then, Emma, I want you to reply about Erin.
Wait, so this question is for me?
Yeah. You, Erin Heifetz. We're
Well, that's-
celebrating you.
That's highly unusual for a press conference, but I do appreciate that. That's very sweet to say. And yeah, listen, it's special for me to come back here. I went to school here. I was assistant coach here for 6 years. It's where I started. It's where I got into U.S. soccer. It's where my sort of journey started to get to be sitting here today. So super special. You know, when they say full circle, man, whew, is it a full circle? So yeah, and all the players that I've had the chance to work with over the past 30 years, you know, never had kids, so they're all those players are all my kids, and seeing them grow up, including the current young ones. So yeah, special. It's great to see everybody back here. Some people are still left. So yeah, I don't matter. It's up to the players. It's up to Emma. But it will be a special night tomorrow. And yeah, and listen, that '91 World Cup team and that went all the way up to Julie Foudy and all the 99ers that, you know, set the stage for where we are today. And I should thank Emma, because since I've been doing this for so long, to then work with a coach who has taught me many things. I really appreciate that, especially at this late stage in my career. So it's been very refreshing and new to work with Emma. And yeah, it's just going to be a great night tomorrow.
I mean, I might say this more to him than I say to everyone else, but I personally would have been lost coming into this job without him. And I urge the Federation, most importantly, that when you have that, in not just institutional knowledge, but the relationship he has over 20 years, keeping that common thread with the history is so invaluable, so overlooked in the modern day, the importance of those things. He is, you know, forget AI, there's Heifetz Almanac. I live next to it every day. AH. Absolutely, that's the headline. I know how excited he has been about coming back here. I know how important this place was to him for many reasons, and it was his suggestion to come back here, not for himself, but because he knew it had played an important part in our history too. So I'm glad you mentioned him and celebrating him, because in order to create legacy, there has to be that common thread, or most importantly, for any organisation to thrive, you must have great glue. And this glue right here keeps us all together.